She was a ruthless alien queen, until a freezing human child melted her heart. The sky was dark over the frozen planet Ulrix. Snow fell hard like sharp needles. The wind screamed across the empty land. Even machines refused to work in this cold. No living thing was supposed to survive here. But Queen Valzora walked without fear. She was not human. She was a tall, proud alien with deep purple skin and glowing silver eyes. Her long cloak fluttered behind her as she moved through the snowstorm. Her guards followed close, but no one dared speak. This was her royal patrol. Every month she came to this cold death world to remember something she never shared. Suddenly she stopped. Her sharp hearing caught a sound that did not belong. A cry. Soft, weak, human. The guards heard it too. They looked at each other, confused. No human had been seen on Ulrix for over 100 years. Valzora raised a hand. Stay back. She walked alone, stepping carefully through the thick snow. The wind pushed hard, but she didn't stop. The cry came again, closer now. Then she saw it, a small shape, almost buried in the snow. A child. The skin was pale, the hair was light brown. The body was trembling, lips blue from cold. But somehow, he was still alive. A human child, Valzora whispered. She knelt beside him. He opened his eyes slowly and looked at her. Not with fear, but with trust. The queen's heart, once cold like this planet, felt something strange. She had killed humans in war. She had ordered attacks on Earth colonies. But now, this small boy was looking at her like she was his only hope. The boy tried to speak. His voice cracked. Help. Valzora lifted him gently in her arms. Her guards stared, frozen in shock. My queen, one of them said. This is a violation of Empire protocol. Humans are enemies. She turned her head sharply. Say one more word, she said coldly, and you will be left here in the ice. The guard fell silent. The queen carried the boy back to her royal cruiser. The ship's AI scanned the child. Temperature dangerous, pulse weak, but he was alive. She placed him on a heated medical bed and wrapped him in soft thermal sheets. The child looked at her again. Name? She asked. Blinked. Kale. The queen repeated the name quietly. Kale. She touched a glowing crystal on the wall. Mark this. No one is allowed into Chamber 6 without my voice code. This human is under royal protection. If anyone tries to take him, execute them. The AI confirmed. The guards outside exchanged worried glances. Back in the royal city of Veltara, deep in the halls of power, whispers began. She brought something back from the ice, said one general. A weapon? Asked another. No, said the spy chief. A child. A human child. Lords and ministers laughed at first. Then they saw the Queen's ship was in lockdown. No staff allowed in, no data shared. Only silence. The Queen had never broken protocol in her long rule. Until now. In the cold chamber, Kyle opened his eyes again. He was stronger now. He looked around. The walls glowed with soft blue lights. The machines beeped slowly beside him. Valzora sat beside the bed watching. Why were you out there? She asked softly. Kale looked confused. I don't know. I woke up in the snow. I was cold. I called, and then you came. The Queen didn't speak for a while. She had killed so many. She had conquered systems, but this boy had survived what no soldier could. Why? She touched his forehead. Warm now, no fever, still alive. She stood and looked at the stars outside. If the Empire learns about you, Kyle, they will want to study you, or destroy you. The boy didn't understand, but she had already made her decision. That night across the stars, many eyes watched the Queen's ship. some with curiosity, some with fear, some with plans. Because what Queen Valzora did that day, rescuing a human child from the ice, would soon shake the entire empire, and no one could stop what was coming. 3 weeks passed. The royal palace of Valtara stood tall under a silver sky, its towers glowing with alien energy. But deep below the palace in Chamber 6, a secret was growing. Kyle, the human child, was alive, stronger, smiling. He laughed when he saw Queen Valzora walk in, his small hand reaching out. No fear, no hesitation. "Good morning, Zora," he said softly. Only he called her that. She had told him her real name, something she had never shared with anyone, not even her generals. Queen Valzora, the cold and mighty ruler, smiled back. Something inside her was changing. She was visiting the chamber more often now, canceling council meetings, ignoring messages, feeding the boy herself. Even her loyal AI assistant warned her, "This behavior is highly unusual, Your Majesty." "I don't care," she replied. Kyle was learning fast, too fast. He spoke the Valari language like a native. He solved alien puzzles that even adult trainees struggled with. One night, he fixed a broken healing crystal just by touching it. Valzora watched, eyes wide. "How did you do that?" Kyle shrugged. "It felt easy. No human should be able to do that, not even Valari children." That night, Valzora accessed secret files from the Empire's hidden archives. She searched for answers, Earth experiments, human mutations, lost colonies. She found nothing. Only one report from 70 years ago. Unregistered anomaly in the ice zone of Ulrix. Human shuttle crash suspected. No survivors found. Until now. Outside the chamber, the palace buzzed with tension. The Queen had banned all visitors to her personal wing. Her high advisors were angry. One of them, Lord Zirav, whispered to the others. "She hides something," he said. "We must find out what." So they sent spies, tiny bots, silent, invisible to most, but not to Kale. He was playing with a floating light ball when he stopped and stared at the wall. Then he pointed. "There's something watching." The Queen's guards found the hidden bot and destroyed it. Valzora was furious. She called Lord Zirav to her throne room. "You dare spy on me?" she asked, voice like thunder. He bowed low. "We are only worried, my queen. You act different." She stepped down from the throne, eyes glowing. "If I find another spy," she whispered, "I'll melt the eyes from your skull." The court went silent. That night, Kale asked, "Am I a bad thing?" Valzora sat beside him. "Why would you ask that?" "Because everyone is afraid of me," she sighed. "They are afraid of what they don't understand. But you are not a thing, Kale. You are a boy, a brave one." He looked at her with big eyes. "Then why do I feel different?" The Queen didn't answer, because she didn't know yet. Later, while Kyle slept, Valzora placed a deep scan crystal above his bed. It scanned his DNA and glowed red. Not normal. Not fully human. Some parts were beyond classification. Unknown. Code. Something ancient or advanced. "Who are you really, Kale?" she whispered. And why was he left in the snow, alive? Meanwhile, across the Empire, rumors spread like fire. The Queen has a secret. She hides a powerful weapon. She is breaking the old laws. The council called a secret meeting. They agreed. If she was hiding a human and giving it protection, she had broken the Galactic Treaty. They began preparing something they had never used before, an emergency override of royal power. If the Queen would not obey the Empire, they would take the throne from her. But in her hidden chamber, Queen Valzora sat beside Kale as he slept peacefully, unaware of the galaxy shaking around him. She touched his small hand. "I won't let them take you," she promised, because deep in her heart, she already knew. This child was more than human. He was something the galaxy had never seen before. The Empire no longer felt calm. Across the capital planet of Veiltara, whispers spread faster than light. The Queen has gone silent. She hides something in her chamber. It breathes. It speaks. And it is not Vailari. Ministers, generals, and old royal allies all said the same thing. Queen Valzora was no longer acting like a queen. In the deepest level of the palace, inside Chamber 6, Kale was changing. He was now nearly 10 human years old, but his strength, speed, and mind seemed older, too advanced. He lifted heavy tools without effort. He read ancient Vailari texts in minutes. And once, when a power unit exploded beside him, he raised his hand and it froze midair like time had paused. Valzora stood there, stunned. "Kale," she whispered. "How did you do that?" He didn't know. "I just didn't want it to hit me." That night she looked through forbidden scrolls written before the Empire was born. Myths of starborn humans, children of ancient energy and forgotten war gods. Legends. But Kale was no legend. He was real, and growing more powerful. The royal AI began acting nervous. "Your Majesty, the Council has requested access to the palace. Core, they claim you are no longer fit to rule." Valzora narrowed her eyes. Let them try. But she knew this day was coming. She had defied old laws. She had chosen a human child over the Empire's rules, and now, the Empire wanted her gone. At midnight, a rebel fleet appeared in orbit. Not enemy ships, but her own military allies. Loyal once, now turned, they broadcast one message. Surrender the chamber, hand over the anomaly, or face removal. The Queen crushed the message orb in her hand. They dare? She walked into Chamber 6. Kyle was awake, sitting up, watching the stars through the glass window above. "They're here for me, aren't they?" he asked. Valzora sat beside him. "Yes. They're afraid of you. Because I'm human?" "No," she said, brushing his hair back. "Because you're not just human." That same hour, one of her trusted guards, Captain Relkor, betrayed her. He led a small squad into the hidden chamber's hallway. Silent. Armed. Ready. But as they entered, the lights blinked out, a strange wind blew through the corridor. Then, blue fire crackled along the walls, and Kale stepped out, eyes glowing. No armor, no weapons, just a small boy with strange energy in his blood. The soldiers raised their rifles. Kale raised his hand. The weapons turned to dust. Captain Relkor dropped, to his knees, shaking. I didn't mean..." Kale walked past him. "I'm not your enemy," the boy said gently. The Queen stood behind him, shocked. She had not trained him. No one had. But Kale was becoming something more. Something dangerous, or something divine. By morning, the entire palace was on alert. Rebellion had started. Ships moved into formation. The Council had declared Valzora unfit to rule. They planned to storm the palace in 24 hours. The Queen summoned her last loyal generals. "I will not surrender him," she said. "If I must lose my throne to protect this child, so be it." One general, an old friend, asked quietly, "Is he really worth it?" Valzora looked out the tall window at Kyle, who was walking in the garden below, making flowers bloom in his path. "Yes," she said. "He's the future, not just for me, for all of us." But across the stars, enemies watched. Old alien clans, forgotten warlords, secret labs. They had seen the video leaks, a child with unknown power, a human who could stop weapons with thought, and now the galaxy wanted one thing: to own him, or to kill him first. The morning sky over Veiltara was red, not from sunrise, but from smoke. Fires burned across the edge of the royal district. Loyalists and rebels clashed in the streets. Soldiers shouted. Drones flew above. The Queen's symbol was torn down from towers. But deep in the palace, Kyle sat alone in the meditation chamber, calm. His eyes were closed. His heart beat steady, but something inside him, was not calm. Something old. Something powerful. Queen Valzora paced outside the chamber, her mind racing. Messages poured in from all over the galaxy. Surrender the child, or the trade alliance collapses. Surrender the child or war begins. Surrender the child or we come ourselves. Every empire, every system, every faction wanted him, but she couldn't give him up, not just because he was rare, not just because he was powerful, but because she cared for him, like a son. Suddenly, alarms screamed through the palace. Intrusion detected. Valzora ran to the main hall. A shadow stood at the broken gate. Tall, armored, deadly. A bounty hunter. Not alien. Not machine. Something between both. It marched through the guards like wind through paper, straight toward Kyle. Valzora reached him just as the walls exploded. The bounty hunter entered, red sensors glowing. The child. Now. Kyle stood shaking. I don't want to hurt anyone. The hunter raised a plasma blade. Valzora moved to protect Kale, but he stepped forward. His hands glowed. The floor cracked. The air shimmered. Then the fire came. Not from the hunter. From Kale. It exploded from his chest like a supernova. Blue. And gold flames shooting in every direction. The bounty hunter flew back, armor melting. Guards shielded their faces. Valzora watched, stunned, as Kale floated a few inches above the floor, his body surrounded in energy. He screamed, not in pain, but in fear. I didn't mean to. Then he collapsed. The fire vanished. Smoke filled the room. Valzora rushed forward, cradling his unconscious body. His pulse was strong, but his power had changed. Later that night, the royal healers said, his body is human, but his cells behave like ancient Vailari battle gods. They showed scans. His blood burned brighter than stars. His bones carried magnetic charge. His brain lit up like a network of suns. He's not just rare, one healer whispered. He's a weapon, or a miracle. Valzora sat beside his bed watching him sleep. He looked peaceful again, like the child she once found in the snow. But now the galaxy had proof. Kale could destroy armies, or save worlds. The council met again, this time publicly. He is too dangerous, one shouted. He must be contained, another cried, or eliminated. But Valzora walked into the chamber head high. You want him because he frightens you, she said. But tell me, what frightens you more? That a human has this power, or that he didn't use it to kill you? Silence filled the room. She turned away. Meanwhile, far from Vailtara, a dark fleet moved silently through space. Old ships, forgotten names. The exarchs of Ilithar, a secret race who believed in pure power. They had heard the name Kael, and they were coming, not to capture him, but to make him one of their own, or burn everything that stood in their way. For the first time in centuries, the Empire gave an ultimatum to its own queen. Inside the floating sky dome of the Imperial Hall, the High Council gathered. Holograms of leaders from 50 alien worlds flickered in blue light. Their faces showed no fear, only demand. The voice of the Grand Executor echoed through the chamber. Queen Valzora has violated Imperial code. She hides a creature with unmeasured power. She must hand over the child, or lose her throne. The council chamber went silent. Then one word was spoken by all. Agree. At the same time, the queen stood alone at her palace window, watching the twin moons rise. Kale stood behind her, quiet. I heard the message, he said. They want me. They fear you, she answered. But am I something to be feared? Valzora turned to him. No. But they think so because they don't understand you. Power like yours. Across history, it's always been controlled. Or destroyed. Kale lowered his eyes. He didn't want to fight. He just wanted to belong. That night, the queen summoned her last 3 most loyal warriors. These were not soldiers. They were legends. Heroes of past wars. The kind who followed only one voice. Hers. I won't hand him over, she said. The warriors bowed without question, then she gave a second command. Prepare the ship. If the Empire comes, I want Kale off this world. The next morning, the sky above Veltara turned black. The Council's judgment fleet had arrived. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, all for one child. The streets filled with silence. No one spoke. No one cheered. Even the rebels now stood still, because they saw what the Empire was willing to do to take Kyle. Inside the palace, Kyle looked out the window. His heart was beating fast. They'll destroy everything, he whispered. Valzora placed a hand on his shoulder. Let them try. No, Kyle said suddenly. I don't want anyone to die. Not for me. You don't have a choice anymore. Yes, I do. And then he walked out, past the Queen, past the guards, straight into the royal plaza. The people gasped as he stepped outside, a small boy. No armor, no crown. But power shimmered behind his eyes. He raised his hands to the sky. Above, the first wave of imperial fire rained down. The crowd screamed. Kyle stepped forward. He closed his eyes. The blasts stopped mid-air. Frozen. Then, with a small motion of his hand, he turned the fire into snowflakes. The people fell to their knees. Even the attacking ships paused. What kind of being does that? Inside the fleet's command ship, the Grand Executor stood up, shocked. This is not human technology, he whispered. No, said a silent advisor. It's something older. Back at the palace, Kyle collapsed from exhaustion. The Queen rushed to catch him. He was still breathing, but barely. He had stopped a war, without killing a single soul. Later that night, Valzora addressed the Empire in a live transmission. This boy is not your threat. He is your mirror. You fear him because he shows what you've lost. Hope, compassion, peace. If you want to punish me, then do it. But Kyle will live. She cut the signal, and with that, the line was drawn. The Queen had chosen the child over the crown. Far beyond the Empire, in the deep void, the Exarch ships of Ilithar changed course. Their leader, cloaked in black fire, watched Kale's image from the intercepted broadcast. So the flame has awakened, he said. He touched the dark, sigil glowing on his chest. Begin the hunt. The palace stood in silence. Snowflakes still drifted gently through the air, left behind by the power Kale had released. The people were speechless. The soldiers who once marched in anger now stood still, unsure whether to salute or run. Inside, the Queen's chamber, Kale lay weak and pale on a healing bed. His small chest rose and fell slowly. Valzora sat beside him, her face carved from grief and rage. He had saved them all. But at what cost? The royal healers worked day and night. He burned his life force, one said. To freeze weapons to stop fire, and that's not magic. That's sacrifice. Can he recover? Valzora asked. We don't know, the chief healer whispered. He's not fully human. His DNA changes every hour, but his mind, his spirit, it's fading. The Queen stood silently, then gave her order. I want no more council orders. No messages from the Empire. If they want to speak, they come. To me. Face to face. Far away on the edge of the galaxy, the Exarchs of Ilithar arrived. They were not part of the Empire. They were older. They worshipped power. Pure, raw, living power. Their leader, Exarch Viren, was once a god in another age. Now he was dust, in the shape of a man. He watched the broadcast of Kale's energy, and he smiled. Finally, he said, the child of flame lives again. Back on Veltara, the Queen received a transmission from her spy network. Images appeared on her private screen. Dead planets, black ships, old symbols. Whole colonies turned to ash. The Ilithar Exarchs were not just coming. They were cleansing everything in their path. Kale was their goal. Not to destroy him, but to claim him. To make him one of them. Valzora stared at the screen, fists clenched. She had fought wars. She had buried lovers. She had even executed traitors with her own hands, but nothing. Nothing had ever filled her with fear like this. Kale opened his eyes. She rushed to him. "You're awake," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "I saw you, in my dream. You were crying." She looked away. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what? For being what I am." She shook her head. "Don't ever apologize for that." He sat up slowly, touching her hand. "I can feel them coming," he said softly. "Who?" "The Dark Ones. They're calling to me." Valzora's heart sank. "They want me to join them." Later that day, the Queen met with her last allies, leaders from minor alien houses, outlawed fleets, even rebel Vylari tribes. She showed them Kale's energy data, the Exarch's path of destruction, and one cold truth. If they take him, they will destroy everything. If they kill him, they may break the balance of this galaxy. A silence followed. Then a voice spoke. "What do we do?" Valzora looked at the stars on the holographic map. "We don't wait for them. We go to the one place the Exarchs never expect." She tapped a glowing point on the map. "Earth." Kale looked up in confusion. "Earth?" "Yes," Valzora said. "If you're part human, maybe your answers are there. But Earth doesn't even know I exist." She smiled. "Then it's time they learned." But as they prepared to leave, a final message reached them. No code, no signal, only sound. Kyle's name, whispered in 1,000 voices. Across every screen, every speaker, every mind. Kyle, Kyle, Kyle. The Exarchs had arrived, and they weren't asking. They were coming to take him. The stars went dark. One by one, above Vale Tara, lights in the sky blinked out, as if swallowed by a great mouth. They were not clouds. They were Exarch ships. Massive, silent, ancient, covered in armor older than most stars, each one pulsed with black fire, alive with whispers from forgotten worlds. Inside the palace, the alarms didn't ring. The Queen had shut them off. There was no point. This was no longer a war. It was a final chapter. Kale stood beside Valzora in the command room, dressed in a cloak of white crystal. His body was still weak, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. "I can feel them," he said quietly. "They're not here to kill me." "I know," Valzora answered. "They want to awaken what's inside me." The Queen nodded. "They want to turn you into something you're not." Kyle looked at her. "Then let's not give them the chance." Across the city, people gathered in silence. Soldiers knelt in prayer. Civilians held their children close. Everyone knew what was coming. But instead of fear, they felt something strange. Hope. Because a child once lost in the snow had become something more. He had stood between them and destruction once. Maybe he could do it again. The Exarch sent one, message projected into every mind: surrender the flame or be turned to dust. Valzora stepped onto the palace balcony. Her voice rang across the planet, sent through psychic waves. "I will not surrender my son." The crowd gasped. She had said it. Not a weapon, not an anomaly, not a danger. Her son. Inside the palace, Valzora activated a hidden chamber, a launch vessel unlike any other. It had no weapons, just speed and silence. "Take him to Earth," she told her last 3 loyal guards. "Do not stop. Do not speak. Hide him among humans. Let him live." Kale shook his head. "I won't run." "This isn't running," she said, kneeling to meet his eyes. "It's surviving. It's growing. One day you'll be ready to come back, not as a child, but as a storm they cannot control." He reached out and held her tightly. "I'll come back for you," he whispered. Valzora smiled, though her eyes were wet. "You already saved me, little star." The guards took him gently. The launch ship vanished into a hidden tunnel beneath the palace, rising silently through the ice caverns below, away from sensors, away from war. At the same time the exarchs descended, the sky split. Veltara shook. Black. Flames rained from above. Valzora walked to her throne, now covered in dust. She removed her crown. She placed it gently on the armrest. And then she activated the last royal defense, the Star Core. Not a weapon, a choice. The throne room began to glow with golden light. The exarchs would not take Kale, because they would never find him here. As the exarch ships reached the surface, the palace erupted in a burst of pure white fire. No sound, no scream, just light. Then, nothing. Far away, on a small planet of blue oceans and green forests. Kale opened his eyes. The sky above him was peaceful. The wind was warm. He was safe, for now, but in his heart, he remembered her last words. You already saved me, little star. And one day, he would return, not as a child, not as a weapon, but as the bridge between worlds.